What is up guys, Joe here, back with another video. Today I wanted to cover technical analysis on AMD stock and see if it's a buy recommendation at its current price point. So some of you may know I have a background in stock trading, stock analysis, so I also cover equities in this channel. And one of my favorite stocks for the past year has been AMD because of its future potential. I believe AMD is currently heavily undervalued at its current price point of $75. And as you know, the whole world operates on semiconductors, and AMD is gaining a leg up on its competitors such as Nvidia, Taiwan Semi, and Intel. So I definitely recommend AMD as a top pick for 2022 in terms of stocks, not only because it's one of the top traded stocks in Wall Street currently, and as you can see on bar chart, today it was ranked number 3 with over 95 million shares traded, and that's total volume. And also stock option, today it ranked at number 5 with over 460,000 options traded. And looking at FinViz, there are more buy recommendations made on Wall Street by other analysts such as Northland Capital reiterated an outperform rating with a price target of 95. Morgan Stanley resumed an overweight rating and a price target of 103. Piper Sandler gave it a overweight rating with a price target of 140, and Raymond James gave it a strong buy conviction with a price target of 160. So obviously we are in the middle of a bear market, and AMD is trending around the $75 price point, and the chart overall is looking bearish. But I wanted to dive deeper, do some technical analysis, and see where the stock could be headed next. So let's get started. So for anyone who's new to this channel, you can also apply the same principles, stock charts, to crypto charts. Crypto analysis was born out of stock analysis, so definitely pay close attention to all the terms and techniques I will be covering in this video. Let's get started. So one of my favorite websites to analyze stocks is finviz.com, and on here it provides free technical analysis to new users, and it draws your support and resistance lines freely, so you don't even have to do any of the manual work. This is the quickest and easiest way to view a stock's performance for free in a quick manner. So just looking at this chart, AMD stock did peak back in December of 2021 with an all-time high of approximately $163. Ever since then, we have been on this macro trend lower, and because of economic conditions such as inflation, war, GDP growth, there are a lot of external factors weighing down this stock on top of the general market overall. And on the homepage they do provide a handy heat map of the S&P 500 sector, and on here it'll give you a up-to-date breakdown of all the sectors within the S&P and how they're doing for the day. So if you click inside, you do see that one of the biggest sectors in the S&P is the technology sector, and you get companies like Microsoft and Apple, but AMD will fall under the semiconductors sector. And on here you have other popular stocks such as AMD, Intel, Texas Instruments, Qualcomm, Micron, the list goes on. So generally speaking, the overall trend of the market will affect the price of the stock. This is just how it goes. If the overall market is doing well, then AMD will do well. And you definitely always want to keep an eye out on the SPY ticker, which is the S&P 500 ETF, and also the QQQ, the NASDAQ 100, which is your top 100 tech stocks. So like I mentioned, generally bearish picture on this stock. And if you see, FinViz drew out this blue line running across, and this blue line running across can be seen as support, and this pink line above can be seen as resistance. And we can draw it the same way within TradingView. Go ahead and grab your line tool here, and support can be drawn below like this, and resistance above. And like I mentioned, a well-defined channel running across AMD, and it's been generally respecting the boundaries within this, so bouncing up and down within this channel. So you can expect AMD to continue oscillating within this channel. And generally speaking, once this squeeze gets so tight, AMD will want to resolve either to the upside or to the downside. So keep in mind, this is a daily chart, and daily chart means each candlestick represents 1 day of trading in the stock market. But let me jump back over over to the weekly chart. This is your W chart, and on here you do see a larger trend happening within the space. So I do have two indicators set up here, and that is my 100-day exponential moving average, and this is this blue line here, and also my 200-day moving average, which is my yellow line here. So if we look at TradingView here, AMD has broken below the 100-day exponential moving average, and the price there was $94.13. And if you look at my top left screen here, you do see the number in blue, 94.13. So it broke below that, and the next level of support would be the 200-day moving average, and that's a price target of $67.37. But keep in mind, AMD is at a current price point of $75. So from 75 up to 67, there is more potential downside ahead. So with that being said, I do think, because we are still in the middle of a bear market, I do think we would have to wait on the sidelines for AMD to find support at its next level of support at $67. So if we zoom in here, and again, we're looking at the weekly chart, and like I mentioned, our 200-day moving average is moving here, and AMD is slowly approaching this line. So I do expect AMD to continue lower and potentially bounce off of here and finally begin recovering to the upside. Now, it is pretty difficult to nail the absolute bottom when doing technical analysis. So judging by its previous all-time high of close to $165, comparatively $75, we're at a over 50% correction from the peak to the bottom. So what I'm saying is we have a potential runway of 50% gain from here. So is now a great time to buy the stock? Yes it is. Can it continue trending lower? Yes it can. Do you want to wait? That's up to you. What is your risk appetite? Like I mentioned, we can find support here at $67. So I do think we're gonna have to wait it out for a couple of more days and see where the market will take this stock. But if you have a long-term horizon, we're talking months out, years out, I am personally a long-term holder of AMD stock. This is a name I want to own for a lifetime. AMD is a stock I own alongside blue chip stocks such as Apple and AMD. I don't mind buying it at its current price point of $75. So your risks to reward ratio is pretty high here. You have a runway of almost 50% gain to previous all-time highs and above. So if you're a long-term holder, yes, definitely a great time to buy. But if you're a day trader and you prefer to day trade this name, like a lot of traders and institutions out there, and judging by the volume, it's a very liquid name, I would say you can wait a couple of more days and see where the stock could be headed next. Now, jumping back to the daily chart, like I said, this name could potentially continue headed lower, and obviously keep your eye on the SPY ETF, S&P 500, and the QQQ. And back to the weekly, if we look at our RSI, and RSI simply just shows the overbought and oversold conditions. So anything at the 70-point mark here and above is considered overbought, and that means sell. So once you cross this threshold, you definitely want to sell your stock. And on the flip side, once you cross the 30-point mark here and head lower, that is a buy signal. That is the time to buy the stock. And the reason is AMD will always want to revert to the mean, meaning you don't want to revert to its home base, which is usually the midpoint here around the 50-point level. So somewhere around here. So let me zoom out. Again, we're on the weekly chart here, and judging by historical performance, anytime AMD bottoms out, it's always going to want to revert to the upside. Same here, bottoms out and pushes higher. Same here, bottoms out, pushes higher. And it looks like we're getting another rounding base, and I anticipate the stock to bottom out and continue higher. So obviously this is closely correlated to the candle chart itself. So if we zoom back out here and we go closer, and like I just drew earlier, it bottoms out and it wants to push higher, and it looks like we're bottoming out here and we want to continue higher. And one last thing, there is another handy indicator I like to use, and that's my volume profile tool here. So let's turn this on. So essentially the volume profile shows you volume nodes on the y-axis here on the side. So it shows you at what price investors were buying the stock. So the higher the volume node here, that means that's where the most active price the stock was purchased at. So for example, we have a very large volume node here, and this red line running across is known as your point of control. So that means a lot of investors were buying the stock at the $84 price point. So a lot of appetite happening here at this $84 price point. So if we follow this line across, that means all along this area, investors were buying the stock back in 2021. And generally speaking, anything above this red line, this point of control, is bullish. Anything below is bearish. So if we zoom in more, we will see that the volume profile point of control begins to move. So if you notice on your volume nodes here, volume begins to decrease as we go lower in price. And our next large volume node will be here at the roughly $55 price point, right? And if we zoom out just a tad, we do see that investors were buying around that area as well back in 2020. So do I think we get to the $55 price point? I don't think so. I do think we revisit this price of $67, like I mentioned earlier, which is your 200-day moving average, but it just goes to show you historically where investors were buying the dip. So in summary, I know this is a very simplified version of technical analysis, but this is just a quick way to get started on some of the essential indicators I recommend for doing technical chart analysis. And that is using the moving averages here for the weekly chart, and that's a 100-day moving average and a 200-day moving average, and obviously the RSI down here, your relative strength index. Using these simple tools will help you identify trends and where support lines lay for the stock. And obviously compare the price action in both the weekly chart and the daily chart, which gives you a more granular look of where the price action is headed. And don't forget, this is all controlled by the overall trend of the S&P 500 and the QQQ NASDAQ 100. They drive the direction of the overall American stock market. So if the S&P is having a red day, you can bet then probably the AMD stock will be red as well. So again, I'm super bullish on the stock. AMD has a ton of potential ahead of it and tons of partnerships with many Fortune 100 companies out there. AMD is here to stay and they're not going anywhere anytime soon. This is definitely a stock you want to buy and hold for years on end. This is my #1 recommendation for anyone looking to invest in the stock market. So I hope you found this information helpful. If you have any questions, please leave a question in the comments section. I'll be happy to respond. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one.